Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today we're getting to some buy low and sell high targets for your fantasy football teams heading into week 5. Apologies, I wasn't able to get the must-add video yesterday. My good friend and colleague Johnny Juta got me incredibly sick over the weekend. Had to have the day off, wasn't in the office yesterday, so I wasn't able to get that out. Seemed like in my mind, a pretty underwhelming week on the wire. So maybe we'll get some stashes out to you on the Shorts channel or on TikTok if you're following us there. But otherwise, not too much to worry about. I've got 2 buy lows, 2 sell highs, and I'll of course get some players that you can, trade away to target these guys or trade for when you're trading some of these players away. Let's get into it. First player up, we're going to do our sell highs first. Deebo Samuel, the San Francisco 49ers. He's currently the wide receiver 15 on the season. I know coming off of a week where he put up a big fat 0 for your fantasy team. Still think that if you do not have it, or if you do have him, the rest of your league probably doesn't feel that weak quite as much as you do, unless you're bitching about it in the league chat. So I still think that there's still plenty of value amongst your league mates on a player like Deebo Samuel. But here's my problem, and I said this during the preseason, and I still believe that it's the case. Brandon Ayuk is the number 1 receiving option for this team over Deebo Samuel in my mind. When Ayuk has played, obviously he missed last week, and Deebo had a fantastic game. But when Ayuk is playing this season, Deebo's average is just 9.3 fantasy points per game. That is good for wide receiver 43 this season, is where that would rank. If Ayuk had obviously played that game last week, things would have been different, I think, for Samuel. And this wasn't just the case this year; it was also the case last season. So after Christian McCaffrey arrived in San Francisco, which also plays an impact in the target competition that, of course, we know comes with this offense, Deebo was the wide receiver 41 in fantasy points per game. So that's week 7 on. That's 6.9 fantasy points per game. He had just 6 targets, 4 receptions, and a 41-yard per game average across that span. It's a super competitive offense, obviously a very good offense as well. So it's not like this is a guy who doesn't have talent. I'm very, very positive Deebo is a very talented player, but he's one that makes a lot of plays and is given the ball near the line of scrimmage, which requires him to be a massive, massive player after the catch. And if the volume isn't there, which is not, he currently has 26 targets on the season. That's 33rd amongst wide receivers, 17 receptions. That's 34th, and 247 yards. That's 26th. So I like Deebo Samuel as a player. I know you guys were talking about this a little bit in the comment section on our sell highs last week when I was talking about Mike Evans. This isn't someone I don't like. This is just, I still think his value to a lot of people is as a top 12 player at the position. And this is something I think you can take advantage of. So a couple guys I like that I think would be respectable trades, guys that you think your league mate would accept an offer like this. If you trade him away, I like Brandon Ayuk, obviously his teammate that I think is just is the number 1 option in this offense and I have more confidence in. And then Devontae Smith, who's had a couple down weeks with A.J. Brown stepping up. Very confident Devontae Smith the rest of the season. So those are 2 players you can target if you want to trade Deebo Samuel away, which I definitely think you should do. Next up, running back position, Josh Jacobs. Man, he's RB17 on the season, had a big week last week, which we'll talk a little bit about. But this is now seeming to be a common occurrence, is win the rushing title, have a down year. Jonathan Taylor, obviously we saw last year. Derrick Henry played just 8 games following winning the rushing title the year prior. So much like these guys, especially for Taylor, efficiency has fallen off. It looks really bad. 2022, Josh Jacobs, 23.2% broken tackle rate, 5th at the position. 4.9 yards per carry, which was 18th, but this is a guy who had over 300 rushing attempts. So if you can average almost 5 yards a carry on that many attempts, elite level production this year. His broken tackle rate, almost half the amount, 12.9%, 45th, 2.7 yards per carry, 60th. That's among 68 running backs. He has been really, really bad from an efficiency perspective. And here's the deal, though. The matchups are not ones where I would expect this guy to struggle. The Chargers last week, huge output in the receiving game. He had like 8 receptions, 80-some yards. But his rushing performance was brutal. 17 carries, 54 yards, just 3.4 yards per carry. The Chargers are one of the worst run defenses in the league. And you look at these other teams that he played, the Steelers, the Broncos, who've both been terrible against the run. The Bills are actually a bottom half unit against the run as well. So these 4 matchups are not matchups that he should be struggling with, and he did. So wait till he finds matchups that are difficult to run the football. It's not going to be pretty because as well, this team, not very good. not a team that I expect to be leading very often, should be trailing plenty. And as a result, their 62.6% pass rate is 6th in the NFL. They're throwing the ball quite a bit with Jimmy, with Aiden O'Connell. If they're trailing, this was the concern I had with Jacobs last year, but he completely blew it out of the water because of his efficiency. This is a team that's not going to beat a lot of game scripts where they can hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs, certainly when he is averaging 2.7 yards per carry. Like, this is also a guy who's, because of his struggles, has let Amir Abdullah get on the field a little bit more, has let Zamir White get on the field a little bit more. I don't think these guys are going to take his role from him, but the struggles in the efficiency department are a huge red flag. And coming off the big week against the Chargers, now is the time to get out, because he's now, almost a top 15 running back on the season. So I think this is the perfect time to trade him. Some league mates of yours are going to remember that rushing title. They're going to see the bounce back this week and think that they finally found their guy, he's finally found his place and been able to get back to who he was last season. Here's a couple of guys I would look to trade for. Saquon Barkley, coming off of the injuries. He hasn't played for a few weeks. Somebody could be desperate and need someone to actually play. Tony Pollard hasn't really exploded quite yet. He's definitely on the precipice of doing so. If you build the package out that's centered around Jacobs, maybe you need an extra little kicker to get Pollard. I would certainly look to do that. And then Aaron Jones is another player, missed some time with injury. Definitely feel more confident in him rest of season over Josh Jacobs. Speaking of Aaron Jones, make the transition to some of our buy low targets. Aaron Jones is one of my favorites. He's running back 33 on the season. He obviously did not play two games here, and then played last week in a limited capacity. But A.J. Dillon's been worse than Josh Jacobs, actually, from an efficiency perspective. While Jones has been gone, what he's been doing has been absolutely atrocious, embarrassing. He should not be getting the amount of opportunities he's been getting. 44 rushing attempts, 118 yards, 2.7 yards per carry. He's 63rd of 68 running backs in broken tackle rate, just 4.5%. That is awful. And then he also has just one run of 10 plus yards on those 44 attempts. So not breaking tackles. As a guy we've talked about, thunder thighs, massive dude that can run you over, he's not doing that. He's also been given 3 inside the 5 carries, which is top 12 at the position, 0 touchdowns to show for it. Like, you think a guy that's as bulky, massive, run you over type of player would be able to convert these short yardage opportunities. He hasn't been doing that. Now, this is not to say that A.J. Dillon's going to be completely left out of this offense. I know they don't want to give Aaron Jones a massive workhorse load here because they want to make sure that he's healthy. They want to make sure that he's fresh. I expect Dillon to still play. But I think coming into now next week, Jones played just 20 snaps this past week on Thursday. It was very clear he was on a snap count. A.J. Dillon had 38 snaps and even had more routes run, which you will not see on a regular basis. Jones is always going to run more routes than A.J. Dillon. So that'll change, I think, heading into this week now with another week to heal for Jones. And I think his role could expand a little bit, get some more of those inside the 5 carries, which has always been missing for him the last couple of seasons since Dillon's arrived. And I mean, the 1 week we saw that Jones played without a snap count, 19.7 half PPR points in week 1. So very big week there against the Bears. And over the course of history, this has been one of the most efficient backs in the league. Last year, he averaged 5.3 yards per carry, which was 5th at the position. His breakaway run rate was 15th at the position as well. So he's capable of being efficient, generating explosive plays. And A.J. Dillon, again, terrible while he's been gone. So I definitely expect Jones to get his spot back in this offense and potentially even more. So a couple of players that you might consider packaging up to go get Aaron Jones. I mentioned Josh Jacobs. I'm confident in that. A couple players that have been one that's been overperforming that maybe miraculously a league mate might consider. Brian Robinson, if you have him, there could be someone that doesn't feel that Aaron Jones is at that same level he was last season after they saw Dillon outsnap him. Another couple guys, Rachaad White. I mean, the efficiency from Rachaad White has been terrible, but the opportunities have been there. Maybe potentially someone likes that and wants to acquire him. And James Conner would be the other, just in a bit of an underwhelming offense. But I do like Conner. Definitely not someone I dislike, but I do think Jones is better rest of season. Okay, those are my favorite buy low and sell high targets heading into week 5. Guys, would love to hear your thoughts on these in the comments down below. If you guys did enjoy today's video, would really, really appreciate it if you did hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We've got content coming each and every day of the week, getting you ready for every week of your fantasy matchups. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.